How long does it take to sell your home in Murfreesboro, Tennessee? That's something that I am asked a lot, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today here on the Murfreesboro Real Estate Report. We're also going to get into this past week's information as far as what's going on with the Murfreesboro and the Rutherford County real estate market. But before we do that, I'm going to start out giving you your 3 top things you need to know about this week. I am John Turner. I'm the team lead of the Turner Victory team at Onward Real Estate, and I appreciate you tuning in this week. If you have not done so, please go ahead, click subscribe down below. Also, if you have any specific questions about the Murfreesboro or Rutherford County real estate market, please let me know that as well. We always appreciate you tuning in. And I want to give a special shout out to Rochelle. I was talking to her this week. She was talking about how she likes to tune in every week and get her pointers for the market because she will be putting her house on the market. We've been talking with them over the past several months, and we're getting ready to bring their home on the market. So, by the way, if you are looking for a wonderful one-level home with a in-ground pool, that's unusual here in Rutherford County, and in the mid $400,000 price range, you need to reach out to me. We've got one coming on board, so keep that in mind. So any agents out there or anybody looking to purchase, certainly reach out to us. You go to turnervictory.com and put your information there, or just email me directly at john, John, at turnervictory.com. All right, so let's get into the top 3 things you need to know about the real estate market this week. The first thing we've been talking about all year, but it continues to happen. New listings continues to fall behind the past couple of years. Every week we're bringing on less and less new listings. And again, I'm not talking about new construction. I'm talking about actual listings hitting the market. This week we were down 33% over the same week last year. And we're actually down a little over 11% from 2024. So a huge drop there in the new listings. So that's the first thing you need to know about the market. The second thing you need to know about the Murfreesboro and Rutherford County real estate market is new construction continues to play a big part in our market. So get these stats. 36% of all active listings in Rutherford County right now are new construction. And if you look back over the past 6 months of all the closed sales, over 32% are new construction. So new construction is making up about a third of our market right now. What is the third thing you need to know about the market? Currently, we have had 2 weeks where there's been a drop in showing activity. Whenever you look at the average number of showings per listing, we had been going up for a little while. Now we've had 2 weeks where that's dropped down. The average showings in Rutherford County right now, the average listing is getting, they were getting 2.35 showings per week. It's down to 2.26. So not a huge drop, but it is a drop. And those numbers vary greatly depending upon what price range you're in. But if you're on the market right now, on average, you're getting a little over 2 showings per week. So that's something that you need to know. We're going to continue to watch that trend about the showings because, well, we'll talk about it a little bit more whenever I get into that portion of it. So those of you with the short attention span, there's your 3 things you need to know. Now, those of you who like the pretty charts and the more details, let's get into it. Let's jump on over to all our charts. So right now, for Rutherford County, the Turner Victory team market health score is a 52. So that means it's real close to a balanced market. It has shifted slightly, just very slightly, to a seller's market, but basically dead even. This week we have 1,497 homes on the market. That is up. We'll look at that here in a minute. And 3.63 months supply of inventory. We talk about this a lot, but your inventory supply. So basically, if no new homes came on the market, no new listings came on the market, and demand remained the same, it would take 3.63 months to go through all the inventory. So that's what month supply is for you. Let's change this up a little bit just so you can see these numbers. I will remind you that the shaded blue columns, it says NC percentage. That is the percentage of homes in that particular category that are new construction. So we had 1,497 active listings. 36.4% of those were new construction. New listings that hit the market, 128. 38% of those, new construction. 129 homes went under contract. Almost 36% of those were new construction. And out of the closings, there were 73 closings this week, and about 23% of those were new construction. So this new construction, it just remains steady right now throughout our market. And we'll get into that a little bit, what it means for buyers and what it means for sellers. Know that there's 3.63 months supply of inventory, but it does vary greatly depending on what price point you're in. Just the difference between the 400 to 500 price range and the 500 to 600 price range. I mean, there's a full month and a half difference in inventory right there. So definitely the higher price points you get to, the more competition, the slower the market is moving. All right, let's jump over to our weekly charts. Let me blow this up a little bit, see a little bit better. And I always remind you that most of these charts, when you see them like this, the orange represents 2026. So that's really what we pay attention to. This is the active inventory. Our inventory has shot up again. It's at 1497. Not much higher than what it was 3 weeks ago. We were at 1486, but we did have a couple of weeks where it was a little bit lower. And I had talked a little bit about, I was wondering if that meant that we were leveling off some. Now, as I look at this, it doesn't look like that as much. That's the reason why we don't just take 1 or 2 weeks out of context. We like to get a trend of 3, 4, 6, 8 weeks so we can really see what's going on. But by looking at this on a weekly basis, it does give us insights and things that we may want to be watching. So our inventory levels still remain higher than any of the past 4 years for this week. But look at this. Remember this big gap between 23 and 24, and then how we just really blew up in 25. So that's still interesting how that gap widened. And you can see it kind of shrunk right here. And as 2024, those numbers picked up some. Month supply. We had gone down for a week or two, and now we are back to about where we were. We were at 3.66 3 weeks ago. We're at 3.63 now. This gap between us and 2025 remains fairly tight. So it tells us that even though we may have a little bit more inventory, the way that the market's moving and the pending sales and keeping things going, that our month supply is not growing like you would think it would be with more inventory. Because that actually comes, there's 2 parts of it. It's the amount of inventory coming on the market, but it's also the amount of inventory going off the market because we're looking at closed sales. So that's the reason why you see these numbers remaining fairly close, even though our inventory has grown some. New listings, we've been talking about this. New listings just have continued to stay below the past 2 years. And really, if I pull 2024 off of here, we've been way below 2025. Look at some of these gaps we've got here in this chart. So that's telling me not nearly as much new inventory is coming on the market. Now, the question is, what is that doing to our market? Well, you have to take into consideration this next part, which is the pendings. Our pending home sales still continue to outperform. Okay, now we did have a few weeks here where they're down. There's a lot of squiggly lines on here, so let's try to clean this up a little bit. First of all, let's take off 2024 and 2025, so we can just look at how we compare back to 2023, because the first half of 2023, we did see some decent momentum. As a matter of fact, you can see the pending home sales up here. And then as we got later in the year, it really kind of dropped off. So we have been trailing below 2023. If you will go back to the last week of 25 or the first week of 26, I predicted that we would be somewhere between 2025 and 2023 as far as our sales numbers. And really, this stands, basically what I said, we are not up to 2023 numbers. I did not think we would be. But if we look at 2025, for the most part, except for 3 or 4 weeks right here, we have exceeded 2025. So our pending home sales continue to outperform 2025. If you notice, there were 93 pending home sales. Sorry, hold up here. I got the wrong one on here. All right, so we are up above 2025 for the most part. There's, like I said, 3 or 4 weeks where we did outperform, but it's been, fairly close here. Last week was quite a bit off, 109 versus 124, but right here 124 versus 129. So we are slightly outperforming what we did in 2025 as far as the pending sales go. Now here we did gain quite a bit, and that's really helped us in that first quarter outperform the previous year. So, all right, let's jump down here. I've been talking a little bit about this, the speed of the sale and the 3 different markets that we're seeing right now in Rutherford County. And I still think this is very important. We're just going to focus on this one price point here, but please do know we have this this chart for all the price points. But this first bar represents all price ranges. And what we're looking at is the blue is what percentage of the market sold in the first 7 days on the market. And currently we see a little over 30% of the homes in Rutherford County are going under contract the first week they're on the market. Then you have this chunk, about half the homes are on the market somewhere between 8 days and 89 days before they go under contract. Above 90 days, we're at 19% across the market. And what's really kind of keeping that from being higher is these first couple of price points here. Because you can see, like in the 800,000s, or the 700,000, almost 30% of the homes have been on the market in 90 days. The 500,000s, almost a quarter of the homes have been on the market for over 90 days. Of course, when we get above 1 million, we see that red jump even more. So just something to keep in mind whenever you're thinking about selling a house. If you're thinking about buying a house, know that if it seems, even though the market, some people may say, hey, this is a slow market, and it's really not, but it may feel that way to some people. But if they say, hey, it's a slow market, you can do whatever you want to as far as making an offer and whatever. Not in that first 7 days, not if it's a hot. If you're looking at it and you're like, man, this is just an awesome house. The market is showing that you're probably not the only one thinking that. Whether it's multiple offers or not, who knows? But it's going to vary between, different homes. But you can't just think, oh, I could go and, lowball them or whatever. That's not what the market's showing. The cost of hitting 90 days, we've talked about this quite a bit, broken it down even more. It seems like every week I'm tweaking a stat or something like that just because that's the way my mind thinks. So please excuse me for that, but that's just what I like. If you hit 90 days, of the homes that hit 90 days on the market, 63.6% of those homes went on to either expire or they canceled their listing. So they did not sell in that time frame, okay? So if you hit 90 days, there's almost a 64% chance that under that same MLS number, you're not going to close. You're not going to get under contract. With that said, out of those, 10.2% come back on the market, relisted, and they eventually sell. But 53% of that 63, so 53 of the 63, they never sell. They just don't. So that 90 days is very critical. If you're a seller, you really want to try to get your home sold before the 90 days. And it all comes down to, we talk about the 3 Ps. Really, I'm going to add in a 4th P. It's something that I kind of tied in with everything else, but I think for now we need to talk about the 4 Ps. And it's, first of all, presentation. You've got to present your home in a way that is going to attract buyers. So that's number 1. Number 2, You've got to promote your home. You've got to have an agent that's got a true marketing plan to promote your home and get as many eyes on it as you can. Number 3, we've talked about pricing. You've got to price your home correctly. Okay, we know that. And you got to price it for the condition. Okay, if you're pricing it like all the other houses, but your house needs new paint and landscaping and things of that nature, you don't need a price like the other homes, which brings us to the 4th thing, and that is positioning. Positioning is when you're looking at what other homes are your competition and how are you positioned in the market versus them. So that's the 4th P. I've always kind of put it in with the pricing aspect of it, but I do think it's important that we talk about positioning and how we go about looking at that and seeing who our competition is. And if only one house is going to sell, how are we going to be the one that's going to stand out in front? Or if we look at the absorption rates, and if we see 5 houses are going to sell this month on average, and there's 10 homes on the market, how are we going to make sure that we beat out at least those other 5 that aren't going to sell this month and be one of the 5 that do sell? So that's when we're talking about positioning, that's what we're talking about. Going back to the 90-day penalty, if you're over 90 days, the average days to close is almost 150, but the real sobering thing here is that you're going to get about 93% of your original ask price if you're on the market for over 90 days. And right now, 426 homes in Rutherford County have been on the market over 90 days, and that represents a little over 28% of our market. Sales price versus the true original list. We've talked about this quite a bit. We go back and look at when a house was first listed, whether it was relisted or not relisted, whatever, and we like to look at it and see, okay, what did it sell for from the first time it was on the market down to when it actually closed? If you look across all price ranges, if a home sold in 7 days or less, it got 99.6% of the true original list price, okay? If it was on the market from 8 days to 89 days, you got about 96.5% of the true original list price. And as we just said, if it's over 90 days, you're getting around 93% of what your original list price was. So there is definitely a penalty for being on the market longer. We've done more studies on this. I geek out on this stuff, but some of the stuff I was looking at last night is there's not as big of a penalty as overpricing your house is what we thought there was. Just trying to look at all the numbers. And it's a little, analyzing this data is a little tough because you ask your question, what is market value? And market value can be a lot of different things, but ultimately what it is what an able and willing seller, able and willing buyer can agree to. So we know that whenever homes sell, we can call that market value. But trying to figure out when they come on the market, did they price it originally at market value or not? That's a little tougher to figure out. So one of the ways we look at that is, okay, did they have to reduce their price? If they did, that's the market telling us that the value, that was not market value for that house. They may have priced it to the comps, but the presentation didn't meet it or whatever. I mean, but we've tried to look at that, and what we have found out is that the financial penalty is not as great as what I would have thought going into it. Where the seller loses out if you overprice is, number one, you lose all sorts of negotiation leverage. So that hurts you. The other thing is it truly shows up in the number of days you're on the market. There is a true penalty. We'll get into that. Well, right here, it took 59 extra days to sell a house if the home had to be reduced in price. So there is a time penalty. There is a little bit of a financial penalty, and there's definitely a loss of leverage in negotiations that sometimes shows up in finances. Sometimes it shows up in concessions. It could show up in possession dates. There's a lot of different things it can show up in. So keep that in mind. We'll look at a couple other things. The monthly pendings, we won't hit on this a whole lot. We're just in the middle of the month. But right now we're sitting at 304 homes under contract this month versus 500 May of last year. We're only halfway through the month, so it's very possible we will exceed our pendings for May of last year as well. But we'll look at that at the end of the month. Active inventory by price range. If you are in the 400,000s, you have more competition than any other price range. So just know that 400,000, 400, 500 has more competition than any other price range. The interesting thing about it is, though, there's been less homes in that price range, that one under 300,000, and actually the million to 1.5 million. As a percentage of the market, there's been less homes that have been relisted there. So I would have thought that number would have been a little higher since there's more competition there. Where are your popular zip codes in Rutherford County? Right now, 37128 leads us this year with 304 closings. 37129, 263 closings. And Smyrna, 37167, has 240 closings for the year. Now, here's the stat I was talking about showings. I think this is important for sellers. We have not been tracking this very long, so I do not have a long track record, and so I don't have a lot of data to go back and look at historical figures to figure out what's going on. This low number right here on the number of showings, that was the week we had the ice storm, so that's an anomaly. But we started out the year just a little over 1.5 showings per week. We have topped out at 2.35 showings per week, per listing per week. Now we're at 2.26. Now the question is, why has that dropped off the past couple of weeks? Number one, I would submit to you because the mortgage rates have been elevating, so that affects things a little bit. And number two, it's probably because there's more homes out there. We just talked about it. We have more active listings. So if there's the same amount of buyers but more active listings, then it stands to reason that each listing will have fewer showings on it. But just know that if you are looking to sell a home, right now the way that things are trending is you're probably going to have less showings than what you've had in the past. And also we could talk about, well, when you first come on the market, do you get a bump because you're new to the market? And that's a whole nother discussion. So I'm just looking at the averages right now. But just know that if you're trying to get something sold, it is possible that you will have less people looking at it than what was happening back a little while ago, a few weeks ago. So new construction as a percent of closings, and we talked about this a little while ago, that 32.2% of all homes in the past 6 months in Rutherford County were new construction. In the 800 to a million, almost 50%, almost half of every home that's sold in the 800 to a million is new construction. But we see several price points. If you're selling in the 500 to 600,000, look at this. 43% of the homes are new construction. So if you're selling in that price point, out of every 10 buyers that may be interested in your home or in your price point, 4 of them are going to go buy new construction. So you are definitely competing against new construction. And we know that new construction is offering a lot of incentives. As a matter of fact, buyers, if you're looking to purchase, we can help walk you through that. But we also can help you walk through the new construction process. You want an agent on your side to walk you through that, experienced agent who understands the construction process. But with that said, there are builders that are giving a lot of incentives. They don't want to sit on the inventory. They are a business. They are trying to sell their inventory. So we need to recognize that, hey, there's opportunities as a buyer that you can definitely get closing costs paid, maybe a rate buy down. I mean, these builders get pretty aggressive with some of the things they're offering. So if you are interested in that, reach out to us. We can help you with that and let you know which builders are offering the most incentives on that. So the one last thing I want to touch on real quick is mortgage rates. I had not looked at mortgage rates until I pulled this up. I thought they were going to be quite a bit higher. They actually dropped just slightly. Last week they were at 6.37. This is the 30-year fix. This week 6.36. Now I'm pretty certain because this comes out on Thursday. I'm pretty certain on Friday they may have gone up more, but they fluctuate every day. I still contend one of the reasons why our pendings are up, besides the pent-up demand, people are just tired of waiting. Plus, wages have gone up a little bit. Home prices have leveled out some, but also this thing right here, 6.36% versus this time last year, 6.81%. That's 4 or 5 tenths of a percent difference. That's real savings on your monthly payment. So that comes into play as well. There's more people that can afford homes right now. I know it's not 2020, 2021, whatever, but there are more people who can afford homes. So that is really acting as a stabilizer from us getting too much inventory on the market, because our inventory is growing even though our new listings are not coming on as much. It's a really weird dynamic. It really is. New listings are down, pendings are up, our month supply is growing, and our inventory is growing. And you look at some of them, you're like, okay, I'm trying to make sense of all this. But what happens is over a period of time, if we keep going like we're going, we will start seeing inventory shrink a little bit. Shrinking inventory puts upward pressure on prices, or at least keeps them stabilized like it has. Growing inventory puts downward pressure on prices. So are you a seller? If you are, you want shrinking inventory to keep your price up. If you're a buyer, you want the inventory to grow, prices to go down. A couple other things that we did not hit on that I just like to bring out. Let me see. We talked about that. So 37% of active listings have reduced their price, and the average price reduction is 3.5%. Also, something that we've really studied a lot, price reductions. We talked about this before. If you are a seller and you want to reduce your price, you really need to reduce it by at least 2%. We have run a lot of data on this, and if you do not reduce at least 2%, you're generally speaking, you're not going to see a bump in showings. Nothing's really going to happen. So on a $500,000 house, if you're wanting to reduce 1%, which is $5,000, the studies show that it really does not get the market's attention. It would have to be a $10,000 reduction to get a bump in showings or anything like that. We've also seen if you reduce 3%, your showings grow by about 1.4 times, which is not a lot, but it certainly helps because you do get that bump there. So it's just information for you. I hope this is helpful to y'all. If there's anything else you want, like I say, I love pulling data and looking at data. So please comment below and say, hey, what about this or what about that? And if we have a data source available, we're more than happy to try to pull that. But we like using this information to help our clients make good, solid decisions, whether they're looking to buy a home, whether they're looking to sell a home. We just feel like the more informed you are, the better decision you're going to make. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, I'm John Turner with the Turner Victory Team. We bring this Murfreesboro Real Estate Report to you every week. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy you watching it. And until next week, we hope you make it a great week. Thank you.